Next we have Craig Stone. He's, when you've been around in this game long enough, you get more than one bio. So some people heard a different bio earlier. He's the director of the oldest American Indian Studies program in the CSU. Professor Craig Stone has taught at Cal State Pavunga, aka Cal State Long Beach, for 39 years. His first meeting with the university president to discuss the reburial of indigenous ancestors on campus was in 1978 as a student. Stone is a provost designee to the CSULB Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Committee, where he was instrumental in the restructuring of the committee so that California Indian people are in all of the key roles: NAGPRA committee chair, NAGPRA coordinator, and campus archaeologist. That has resulted in the reburial of almost 100 ancestors at CSULB in the summer of 2016. Cal State Long Beach is the first and only university in the United States to rebury the indigenous people of the land on a university campus under NAGPRA.
Thank you. Miha, in Mayuya, my preach in the two indigenous languages, where I teach at Cal State Pavunga, which we affectionately call Cal State Long Beach. So, that's this slide. Changed. There's a couple things. So this is an interesting photograph, right? Because that's Chancellor Wyatt, and this is our president, and then it's myself and Cindy Alvidri, who's supposed to be here today. So my apologies from Cindy. We have a big gathering, 20-year-old gathering in Southern California in San Pedro called the Gathering of Elders. And so it is a gathering of all of these indigenous elders. And so a lot of our faculty are participating within that. So this is actually when we reburied on campus. I want to talk about a couple of things. One was in the last presentation, and it's no fault of your own, right? Those are the university-produced or union-produced, university-produced or chancellor's office-produced charts. But there's something called symbolic annihilation, right? So that's when you show charts of the ethnic diversity of your campus or of your system, and there are no Native Americans in it, and the ones that you produce out of your own. But it would be cool if when you showed things like that, that you don't symbolically annihilate indigenous people. So one thing I want to talk about is we changed our mascot, right? So we had a mascot on campus that was associated with the genocide of California Indian people. It's very difficult to change a mascot in the CSU system, but CFA helped, the Indigenous Caucus helped. We worked in all these different coalitions and had all of these different strategies. One of our strategies was whatever we would do, it needed to extend Native culture. So we would make songs. We wouldn't go and protest, actually. We would compose songs in the indigenous languages, and then we would learn different dances, and then we would go and dance in public around the statue. You know, we would have academic panels. So our strategies were really varied, and our presumption was everybody is just ignorant of Indian people because of symbolic annihilation. And it happens, I see it on campus every day. So anyway, this is Pavunga, this is the lower part of campus. So this is something that happens during solstice. It's a sand painting. It's part of Chinese traditions that emanate from Pavunga. And so over time, over the year, they disappear, they go back into the earth, and then a new one comes up. So, so we talk about knowing where you stand and respect from the ground up. So we're on the National Register of Historic Places, and there are all these different events which happen on our campus. All of the CSUs or any institution that has an archaeology program, you may have human remains or funerary objects. That makes you a art museum or a museum under federal law, and you have to comply with something called Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. So this is the return of those funerary objects to and ancestral remains and objects of cultural patrimony to the indigenous people of the land. Okay, so I'm going to try to go fast because so we become identified as a museum if you have those. So human remains are the remains of a human body of a person of Native American ancestry, also Hawaiian ancestry. Does not include remains that are naturally shed from the body or freely given. Associated funerary objects are reasonably believed to have been intentionally placed with a particular set of human remains, either at a time of death or later, or were made exclusively for reburial purposes or to contain human remains. And both the human remains and objects are in the possession or under the control of a museum or a federal agency. So we are considered museums under this. So we engaged in a process to rebury on campus all of these ancestral remains. We thought that we had about 27. We ended up finding out with forensic archaeologists and osteologists as we went through that we had almost 100 human remains. Then we brought in community members from all of the associated different tribal groups. No non-Indians, no non-California Indians were invited into any of this. The basic assumption is if it's not your DNA, then you're not, you're not involved. So this process was an act of remembering, to bring this body back together, to remember. At the same time, we're remembering. At the same time, people are coming together from these different tribal communities to tell stories, to relearn one's history, to remember your cultural traditions in this process. So that was our process. These are the different folks. And one of the things that we did is we had non-Indians in all these different roles. So the provost designee was this guy, not me, but I'm just going to refer to these people as this guy or that person. All right. So the person who's the CSULB NAG coordinator, instead of being Cindy Alvitri, who's Tonga Gabrielino, was this guy, this other guy, and then our where's Louis? When we have our NAGPRA committee chair, it was a person, another guy who was not California Indian. So one of I think the most important things is that the only people who have the right to determine what's sacred, to determine what is appropriate for the use of your land, which is sacred, or for making decisions about the appropriate process under NAGPRA would be